Welcome back to another review, and we have the next racing game in the Crash Bandicoot series, Crash Bandicoot Nitro Kart. This game is pretty fun. It brings in some awesome new things and bringing back some old great things from the PS1 Racing Crash game. Crash Bandicoot CTR, which like I said, my rating was really stupid, but oh, you know how much I love that game. I love Crash CTR to death, and it is my favorite kart racer, no doubt. But how does the PS2 racing game Crash Nitro Kart hold up? Well, let's see. Before we dive into the story, let's get to the history recap and a little bit more info on Vicarious Visions. Crash Bandicoot Nitro Kart was developed in 2003 by Vicarious Visions, which a long time ago I thought were actually a dead company, and in my excitement and happiness, I found out they were still alive working for Activision, and damn am I happy for them. In charge of Crash once more, with the Crashies returning after 8 long years for a true Crash Bandicoot game. They are bringing him back as a cameo in the next Skylanders game along with Dr. Neo Cortex, and in charge of the Crash Bandicoot 1, 2, and Crash World fully remastered for PlayStation 4. But let's continue with Nitro Kart. It was made in 2003, developed by Vicarious Visions, and published by Money and Quantity over Quality Studios. The game was 2 years after the monstrosity that was Crash Bandicoot Wrath of Cortex. After Crash Wrath of Cortex, Crash Bandicoot went to the GBA for a few exclusives, but we will get to those later in the year. And those were also developed by Vicarious Visions. Did I mention I freaking love Vicarious Visions? If not, you heard it here. This game is like a remake of Crash CTR, and damn is it good. But before we get to the final thoughts and opinions, let's dive into the story and quickly get into the real game. Because it's the start of the video. Why would I even mention my final thoughts and opinions? Be smart, people. The story this time around is actually pretty funny if you ask me. You see the original guys chilling first off the Bandicoot squad. We have Crash taking a nap, and then Aku Aku and Crunch along with the Coco, their sister, just sitting, and Aku Aku's talking to Crunch about his diet plan. Weird, I know. After a while, they get abducted and taken away into a different planet. We then have Cortex Squad in his evil castle just doing evil stuff like evil scientists tend to do, I guess. Dingo Doll being mind-controlled, and, you know what, Record Scratch, you know, this side of everything is confusing me. But anyway, they also get abducted and taken to a different planet. Meeting up with the Bandicoot Squad, the new villain of this game, Emperor Velo, pretty much sums up and says, race for me, or die. Yeah, crazy, I know. Emperor Velo will let them go back to Earth if they win the cup. Wow. This is the only game this disgusting thing is in, and he's already putting Earth in danger and ready to destroy the good guys. After not being in the game yet, while we have Cortex here doing this for almost 20 years, 20 years starting tomorrow, happy early birthday, you amazing Bandicoot, you! So Emperor Velo gives them the race carts modified to actually make it through his racetracks, and they're set off on the racing adventure. So this game, you already know, has the same mode as CTR. A new one is the level editor, or I think maker, or whatever it is. But no one, I'm sure, uses this since the real game and fun is in the adventure mode and regular race mode and cup mode like in CTR. A new thing they added in adventure mode is the ability to play as 3 racers. There are 2 teams, the Bandicoot team and the Evil team. The Bandicoot team consisting of the racers, Crash, Coco, and Crunch, and the Evil team with Cortex, Engine, and Tiny. Of course I picked Team Bandicoot. Diving in, the odd thing about the tutorials is it's literally the same thing, but worse in my opinion. Aku Aku looks like he belongs in a DeviantArt post. It was acceptable for the PS1 Racing Crash game because it's a freaking PS1 game, and the character models and faces were strange. Nitro Kart, however, is a next-gen level, so I expected more from that. My little nitpick aside, the graphics are beautiful. It's honestly the best-looking Crash game I've ever seen. Never had any frame rate problems for me, so it was, I'm sure, almost 100% consistent throughout the entire game. Soundtrack isn't that bad, the theme song is a really hug too. This is the same drill as Crash Bandicoot CTR. You can drive around and practice in the hub world, and you have these portal levels. After beating the normal cup version, you have the decision to do any relic races and CNK token race challenges. This game brings back CTR's amazing art design for the racetracks. Great and colorful as well. Honestly, this game is kind of close to being a remake to CTR, if it isn't already. Sadly, most racetracks are nearly the same. The best example I can give out is the one right here, Inferno Island, CNK, and Crash Cove, CTR. It's sad they are exactly alike. I see no difference in them. Either way, I'm somewhat okay with it. There are obviously some new tracks, because this wasn't confirmed to be a remake of CTR, obviously. My favorite has to be the Out of Time racetrack, bringing in a desert-like or rocky area with the fun chance of riding on a giant clock. That's really freaking awesome. Not to mention the gorgeous graphics for its time, making it an even better experience. There are new mechanics and other cool tricks in the game, and they aren't bad, they are pretty freaking awesome. You have new power-ups as well. It has lots of the original ones, the Wumpa Rockets, and more, so I'll give you the new ones. You have the static orb close to the red potion in CTR, where you spin out of control, bounce up and down, Juiced up, the car goes backwards as well. That's pretty new. There's also the super engine, but only in battle mode. It just gives you more speed. You also have the tornado that is pretty close to electric vaulting in TTR. Goes all the way down the track, and hits everybody. Ice shards, which if the enemy runs into it, they turn into an ice cube and become crappy at driving. Then there's invincibility, which is pretty self-explanatory, and is only in battle mode. A few classics we got are the bowling bombs, Wumper rockets, and TNT crates, and the entropy clock, but the beakers aren't in this game. A new mechanic introduced in this game is the gravity tracks and team... I forgot the rest of the name, I'm sorry. The team power-up, let's just call it that, is when you get unlimited power-ups with your teammate by filling up this bar. For a short amount of time, so spam the crap out of that R1 button until it runs out. The gravity tracks, however, is where your wheels flip, and you'll be hovering on the gravity tracks. But the only problem with this is, it kind of sucks, honestly. You are as slow as a rolling stick of butter down a hill, even though it's a cool mechanic. It still wasn't executed that well, but here we are 11 years later, and we have Nintendo copying the mechanic and actually doing it well, aka with Mario Kart 8. First off, you want to slick Nintendo, you should be ashamed of yourself, and secondly, why would you make it slower on the gravity tracks anyway, Vicarious Visions? Jesus, that was pretty stupid if you ask me. You have the boss fights as well. They're all new characters, and they are really, well, they aren't cool, that's for sure. My favorite is Nash the Shark, though, if I gotta be honest, but by far, these boss fights are way more difficult than the CTR boss fight at times. The robot is literally the worst freaking one. There's 3 racers, the actual character, and 2 minions. All the boss fights have a special thing that usually drops behind them to mess you up. The things the little robots drop get you stuck to the ground, and you move slower and freaking slower. Now imagine that bullcrap swerving around like a dumbass, avoiding them, and then knowing you have to pass both of his minions before getting to his real character. You have to race and pass just to get to his first place. Screw this! I quit at the point of this game. Well, not quit entirely, but for a while, didn't come back to it. Took a break since then, and I almost had a heart attack screaming at the TV on how bullcrap it is. The boss fights are like how they are in CTR, each of them with their own special power-up drop behind them, a large amount of speed, and they give off more ideas and tricks to make them more difficult. The boss fight category isn't bad one bit in this game. It's the characters here that just don't make it for me. We have 4 boss racers. We have Nash the Shark, who's probably my favorite, Norm the Mime, Geary the Robot, who we were just talking about earlier, and then of course Emperor Velo himself. The boss fight isn't too bad. Still pretty tough, and if I'm not mistaken, there's another racer that you have to pass before passing Velo to get first place. The boss fights in this game are a pain in the ass, and it's no surprise they are either. Either way, I do like the challenge Vicarious Visions added to the boss fights, but I'm wondering if there would have been more, or were they rushed? Well, being rushed, believe me, I could see them considering it was published by Universal Interactive Studios, and believe me, most of the Rush games were not a good experience. The character roster, in my opinion, still doesn't meet up with my expectations. Remember how you got to play as almost all the boss characters in TTR because they couldn't do Oxide? Well, the bright side is Oxide is in fact playable in this game, but none of the boss characters are. What? That's pretty bogus if you ask me. After all that we struggled through in the bullcrap boss races we went through in this damn game, you'd think they would at least give us the boss characters to play with. The roster has lots, all the good guys, so no need to worry, as well as the bad guys we know and love. Oxide is in it, and Dingo Dial is mind controlled in there. These 2 morons, Zem and Zam, I don't know why they even bothered with them, but not the boss characters. By the way, these are new ones. They're not really old Crash characters. They were just made for this game specifically. Then they have Polar and Puro, again, and also Entranced and Bang Crash. But oh, they still couldn't add Dr. N. Moving on now, I don't like the character roster in this game. Though all the ones I love from CTR are back except Pinstripe, sadly, and Ripperoo. And I believe someone else. I still feel cheated. Is there any way to play as the boss characters? Oh yeah, the freaking GBA port gives you the abilities to play as the boss characters, and along with the cameo of Spyro the Dragon. What in the actual shit? This is the dumbest thing I've ever freaking seen. I'm going to make a Dragon Ball Z racing game and not have any of the villains playable, make a 3DS version with all the villains playable, along with Agumon as a playable character. Hashtag Kickstarter, hashtag fund me. After all that we struggled through and Velo's boss fight, it's finally time to see the ending. So, instead of me ranting on some bullshit, let's get into this.
My lord, please don't get angry. Your suit is leaking, sire. I can see my house from here.
Emperor Velo was a robot? They just don't make them like they used to.
Is that the real Velo?
My empire is yours, and all the power that comes with it.
Time to go home. You'll do that for us, right, little guy?
Oh, I am so good. Who knew it would be this easy? A robot. How quaint. Oh, are you?
It's mine! You can't have it!
So, Emperor Velo the 27th, we meet at last, face to face.
Help me! They're stealing my scepter! My power! Keep it. It's too big for me anyways.
Back off! I can handle it. Now, on to Earth.
Earth! We made it!
This isn't Earth? I don't think we're in Kansas anymore, Tiny. Tiny, you buffoon!
Overall, what do I think of Crash Nitro Kart? I think it's a good game, but it definitely has its flaws. The gameplay is fun and the controls are not as great as CTR's controls, but still fine. The game's character roster is still stupid. It's mostly like CTR, so it felt like I was playing CTR with remade graphics and a few extra racetracks here and there. I know I sound like a moron, but hey, it's my opinion. The boss characters are lame and not really cool with the acceptable one of Nash the Shark. They tried their best to make this game as great as CTR, but it just didn't add up and meet my expectations. The graphics are beautiful, and I love the new things added in the game. Vicarious Visions did do a good job with this title, and now brace yourselves because Crash Nitro Kart gets a 7 out of 10. Be sure to come back tomorrow with the final part in my 4-video Crash Bandicoot 20th Anniversary Extravaganza special. We will be taking a look at Crash to Insanity. I already explained why I'm doing 2 reviews in 1 week. Look at the end of my Wrath of Cortex review on why. In honor of Crash Bandicoot's birthday, I'm reviewing Crash to Insanity tomorrow, and it's going to be fun. But anyway, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Stay tuned for more awesome content from this channel. I'm Jables Games signing off, and I'll see you all in the next video. Thanks for watching.